Hello, and welcome to the Artist Pivot Podcast. My name is Ayana Major Bay, and well, I'm your host. I am on a mission to educate, empower, and celebrate artists so they have no option but to thrive. This is a weekly conversation with artists about their current pivot, past pivots, and every pivot in between that I hope will remind other creatives that we innately have it in us to reevaluate and adapt. When I'm not podcasting, my world is full of voiceovers, musical theater, mentoring, travel, and some cooking and baking. But enough about me. Let's get on with the show. On this episode, I am joined by spoken word artist, host, entrepreneur, and mentor, JRose. She was born and raised in Queens, and her love of hip-hop inspired her to start writing poetry. After 20 years of writing and 7 years of performing on stages all over NYC, JRose decided she wanted to build a safe space for other creatives to share their work. So in 2018, she founded the creative platform, The Rose Garden Events. JRose has expanded into curating and hosting performance-based events, such as monthly open mic nights, showcases, fundraisers, small business expos, and more. In 2020, her creative journey led JRose to media production and journalism. She launched her first talk show, the JRose Experience, where she brings an intimate look into the creative process of poetry, music, art, and entrepreneurship from the perspective of poets. What started out as a New York City-based talk show quickly evolved into a countrywide project that is now a traveling talk show. Additionally, she facilitates spoken word workshops to teach children and young adults how to use poetry as a voice for their communities. We discuss her journey from page to stage as a spoken word artist, how she discovered her own power, and that she didn't come to play with nobody. Here's our conversation. All right, y'all. I am so excited to say that today, joining me on the podcast is Miss JRose. Hello there.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thanks so much for having me. I'm super excited.
Oh, thank you for coming on. I'm excited too. I'm so excited. I love it. So I'm going to start with this question. It may throw you off a little bit, but I'm going to do it anyway.
Okay, I'm here for it.
If I were to text you right now and ask you, JRose, how are you doing? But you could only respond to me in emojis, what would be your reply?
It would probably be the emoji that has like one big eye, one little eye, and like the squiggly mouth. Like he looks drunk. Like that's how I'm feeling right now, for sure. Like what the heck is going on?
Right. There's a lot happening. You're like, that's the emoji you get. I'd be like, okay, girl, you need me to come over? You good?
Yes, I could use more friends like that.
Yes. I love it. Yeah. So thank you for answering. And also, y'all, you can't see her, but her nails right now are giving me life. Like, they really are. I love them. I'm here for them.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. But welcome to the show. And as we spoke about before, this is a conversation just to remind artists that we've been pivoting long before the pandemic happened, and we're going to continue to pivot long after the pandemic has passed.
Right.
And our innate ability to do so, you know, and to hear someone else's story to be like, y'all, I've been adapting, I've been pivoting, and I've made it out. So where I want to start is, first of all, how you became a spoken word artist, like where that even came from. We'll get to the pivots that you did in 2020 and with your business and all of that. But I take me back to the beginning. How did spoken word even come into your life?
All right, so we're gonna take it back. I have been writing poetry for over 20 years. Okay. I've been writing poetry since I was 16 years old, but I was never really like confident in it. And then little by little, I started meeting other poets, and and getting really inspired to kind of be brave and get on the stage. Yeah. So it wasn't until about maybe 5 or 6 years ago when I actually took my poetry to the stage. Before that, I was very scared, very shy. I was like, even thinking about being on stage made me want to throw up. And what really pushed me to kind of get into that space was I was actually going through a lot in my life, in my personal life. And I was struggling with like how to cope with it. I was depressed. I was dealing with a lot of relationship issues at home. I wasn't happy. I didn't feel good about myself. And I felt like I needed a major pivot in my life. And I decided to let me just try it. And what I did was, instead of just like, oh, I'm going to try and perform, because I'm extra, right? I'm not like, oh, let's peel the Band-Aid off little by little. I'm like, rip the sucker off and throw them away. Let's go. We're going in. So instead of like practicing and testing the waters, I dove right into it, and I decided to host my own poetry slam.
What?
And yeah, so like, I was like, I'm gonna do a poetry slam. I didn't compete, but I wanted to host it.
Okay.
And I was already in this like Instagram poetry community where we shared poems with each other. I used to post a lot of my poetry on Instagram, and people used to try to encourage me to like do spoken word, and I was always scared. So I reached out to those people, that community, and I asked if they would be interested in participating in the slam, and a bunch of people said yes. And I was like, I put together this amazing event. It was over 100 people showed up just to like support, because it's my first event. Yeah. And that's what pushed me to start practicing and memorizing my poetry and doing spoken word. And it's been ever since then. That was 5 years ago, that first event. It was like last week was the 5-year anniversary of that event.
Yes, congratulations.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yes, I love it. You really did just rip the Band-Aid off.
I did. I did not come here to play. Right. I ripped it off, and that's it. I walked in, wounds and all.
Yes. I love it. I love it. You did not come to play with nobody.
Right.
Nobody. I'm going to do it, and I'm going to do it on the grandest scale.
Exactly. Exactly. And it was great because I was very supported, and seeing how like people really believed in me, never even knowing my poetry, you know what I mean? Like friends were just like, they didn't even, there was people that were like, I didn't even know you wrote poetry,
I was just about to ask you that. Right. Did they know?
No, they didn't know. And when I went up there and I performed a very powerful piece, and like people were like getting emotional from the piece I did, and people were just like shocked. They were like, I wasn't even like JRose at that time. Like people still calling me Jasmine. Like
yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, wow. Yes, that's beautiful. So you walked right into it.
Absolutely, I did.
With scars and scared
Everything.
and fear, without all of it, but you walked into it.
Hurting and unsure of, where this was going to take me. I didn't, I wasn't really confident in myself, even as an artist. I wasn't confident in my craft. I wasn't, but I just said, let's do this.
Right.
Give it a shot. It's the worst thing that could happen. It doesn't work out. That's it.
Exactly. So then my question would be, how did you become confident in yourself as an artist and in your craft? Was it just time?
Yeah, I mean, over time, I started hosting open mics. I started getting featured. I think what gave me, I guess now thinking about it, because I don't always think, I don't think I ever really think about this, but I started performing at other platforms, and I started going to other open mics.
Okay.
And I started meeting other poets, and, I was getting a lot of encouragement and compliments, but there was a particular open mic that I went to. It's for a platform called Inspired Word. And they've been around for a very long time. They're one of the longest running platforms in New York City. And a lot of people, actors, go and perform there, singers. It's a lot of people go there. And I remember I went to the open mic, and the guy who, Mike Geffner, he runs the platform, he came up to me and offered me a feature on one of his other shows. So he gave me my very first feature gig. Okay. And I had like just started really like maybe less than a year performing. And for someone to see me on stage and then come up to me and offer me a feature set, which was like big, like featuring on a platform is like being like the headliner, you know what I mean? Or being like the person that gets a little extra time on stage. So he gave me my first feature. And when I saw that, and after I featured on his platform, I started getting featured everywhere. And when I started getting paid to perform, like, I was like, wow, like I'm actually good enough and I started like getting a lot, building up my confidence. And now hosting really pulled that extrovert out of me. There's people that grew up with me to this. Just the other day, somebody sent me a message and was like, she said, "Oh my God, I'm so proud of you. I cannot believe you are the person that you are today." They're shocked because I was never like an extroverted person. I was extroverted around my friends because I was in safe spaces with them.
Yes.
But other than that, I was really shy. I was timid. I didn't like date boys at an early age. I wasn't like those girls. So I kept to myself a lot. Yeah. I wasn't part of the cool crowd, but I knew everybody. I was popular, but I wasn't a cool kid. So.
Right. Whatever that actually means. Because now that I'm long out of high school, I'm like, does that even mean anything? No.
Right. Exactly. And these days, it doesn't even matter.
Right. Yes. I got it. Well, yes. Thank you for that. Thank you. And along the lines of that, so I know that in 2018, you went into a little entrepreneur bubble or umbrella, if you will, and started the Rose Garden events.
Right.
But before that, how did you get to that idea? So were you coming from like a different job, like corporate America or anything before you were like, you know what? I'm actually going to do it myself, so I'm going to be an entrepreneur.
I love that question.
Yes.
Because that question leads to me finding my purpose, right?
Okay. Yeah.
So I was in corporate America. I was the director of human resources for a merchant cash advance company.
Okay.
And I was one of the only women that held one of the highest positions in the company. The people I answered to were the owners. I didn't answer to nobody else.
Okay.
It was a male-dominated environment. So after 4.5 years of being there, it affected my mental health. And it was a very toxic environment for me. It was not a good place. So I had to take a leave. They forced me to take a leave because of what I was dealing with, the stress and how it was affecting my mental health. So now the time was coming where my leave was about to be done and I was about to go back to work.
Okay.
And mind you, I got to spend the whole summer with my kids. Like I was home. Like it felt good to not have to get up and deal and walk into a toxic environment every day from 9 to 5. So I sat down on my porch and it was like a week before I had to go back to work. And like something inside of me was like, I really don't want to go back there. I'm going to go back because I need to start making money again because I had a very good salary, but I had no intentions of being there more than another year.
Okay.
So I started thinking to myself, well, what can I do that I could make money with? Because I started to see how powerful I am, right? I built this HR department from scratch for this company in 4 years. We went from a company that had 25 employees to 125 employees, and I was running the whole office. Yes. And I got to see how powerful I was. And it made me think like, damn, I'm helping this person build an empire for themselves. I'm busting my butt every day working like more than 8 hours a day. Let me tell you, it wasn't no regular 9 to 5. I was there at 8 in the morning. I was leaving at like 10 o'clock at night doing payroll. I was working from at home sometimes. Like it was crazy. So I'm doing all this. And at the end of the day, the owner of the company gets to drive home in his Rolls Royce. And I'm in my Kia. And I'm doing all the work. And he's just telling me what to do or yelling at me, being disrespectful. I was being treated like crap. I wasn't being respected as a woman. It was crazy. So I was like, yo, I'm doing all this work. I could be putting that energy into myself. Like I could build my own empire. Like,
yes.
Yeah, I had a good salary. I was getting paid well. But like on the other side of that coin, my mental health was suffering. My self-image was suffering. So I was like, maybe if I do something for myself, what can I do for myself? So I was like, okay, I write poetry. Maybe I could publish a book. But it's not really, publishing a book isn't something that was a dream of mine. So I was like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to sell enough books to like actually make a living from it. Right. I was like, let's scratch that idea. So then I started thinking, well, I do like hosting events. Yeah. You know, I had done my slam. I had did a few other showcases after that. And then I stopped. My mental health was really bad. This job was consuming my life. So I had stopped doing events. So I was like, maybe I could go back to doing events. And then that's when I had the epiphany. And my purpose, the path to my purpose became extremely clear. And I realized it wasn't like, what do I like to do? It was more like, what am I really good at organically with no effort, right? And I thought, okay, doing events. But why am I so good at that? So when I started unpacking the why, that's when my purpose came out of that bag, right? Yes. It was because I'm very good at connecting people. I'm very good at connecting with people, and I'm very good at connecting people together. I have a power where I can create spaces where people can come together where they normally wouldn't be in the same space if it wasn't for me. Right. So I realized that my purpose was to create spaces for people to grow. I realized that my purpose, and it wasn't just for creatives, it's also for entrepreneurs. Yeah. So I realized like, okay, I'm going to start doing events. I'm going to start creating creative events. I'm going to make them fun. They're going to be different. They're not going to be like the open mics that everybody else goes to. Like I'm going to stand out because I know that I have something special. Yeah. You know, and what I have, knowing that I have something special and knowing that what is special serves my purpose, that was when it all happened. And that was in September of 2018. And by November, I opened my business. I officially, legally, like started the Rose Garden Events as a legal corporation. Wow. And I have not looked back since. I actually, in March of 2019, I lost that job. And I never looked back. Never.
Yeah. Because there's no need to.
No. I walked away with a vast amount of knowledge from working there. But that's it. When I lost that job, it was in one of the most difficult times in my life. I was going through a really bad breakup. I was like depressed again. Like I've gone through so many times in my life where depression really was like controlling me, and you know, losing your job in the middle of a depressive state when you're dealing with a breakup and moving back home with your parents and, you know, trying to figure out what you're going to do with your life. Like, it just was like, kick me while I'm down. Why don't you? But it ended up being one of the best things that ever happened in my life. Right. Right. Yeah. Oh, yes. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Yeah. I get a little sad sometimes when I think about it.
Yeah. Understood. But also, for me, hearing that from you, I'm literally hearing your resilience. Like you, of course, weren't feeling it then, but now you're like, no, I survived that.
Right.
Like, go me. Like, okay. Like, yes.
You did a good job.
Yes, you did a good job. Yes. And so I know that the Rose Garden events continue to flourish. Absolutely. And then the pandemic hit us.
The madness.
Right, the madness. So tell me how you were able to, you know, pivot, adapt, and just adjust things that you're like, you know what, y'all? I'm going to continue going, even though Rona want to come in and try and mess me up.
Right. The pandemic was, you know, not to take away the lives that were lost and the suffering that we went through. Like, we all, I don't think there's not one person in this world that was not affected by this pandemic in some way, whether they lost somebody, whether they themselves got sick, you know, everybody got a piece of the pie. I don't want to curse.
Yes. Yes.
You know, so it, you know, that was like the bad side, right?
Yeah.
But then there was this like beauty that came out of this chaos that for me, this pandemic was exactly what I needed to just kick the door open on things and just take over everything.
Yeah.
Like I had just finished filming the first season of my talk show.
Okay.
And the first episode dropped on the first week of March. And by the second week of March, we went into lockdown. So between not being able to go back into the studios to film the second season and not being able to continue doing my monthly open mic that I was doing, I was doing open mics in Harlem, Brooklyn, Queens. Every month I had an open mic. I took literally probably like 2 minutes of running around screaming in my head like a chicken with his head cut off. And I immediately, and this is because I'm a solution-driven person. I don't sit and dwell on the problem or the challenge, because worrying about it and dwelling on it doesn't help. But if you're thinking about it from the lens of a solution, then you're actually doing something productive. So I probably stressed out for like 2 minutes.
Okay.
And then immediately I was like, all right, open mic on Zoom. What's up? And it was crazy because everybody was doing Instagram live open mics. So what I was doing is I was jumping on all these lives and I was performing. And then I was like getting all these followers. I started averaging like 100 followers a week. It went from like 30 followers a week to 100 followers a week, like for like maybe 3-4 months straight. My social media following exploded. And I started connecting with poets and creatives from all over the country, all over the world. And I watched everybody because I'm an observer. And I'm watching everybody on IG Live. I'm watching the technology, how it works. I'm looking at how people are experiencing it as performers. And then I said, you know what? I'm going to do this on Zoom. I'm going to do something different. And I was one of the first platforms that started doing open mics on Zoom. We started March 20th. So like
that was immediate. That was the same month.
Girl, I did not come here to play.
You did not.
I told you, we don't peel the Band-Aid, girl. We rip it right off.
Yes.
No, honey. Listen, I ripped that Band-Aid right off and started doing this virtual open mic. We were doing it every Friday. We did it every Friday for like 9 months straight. And then we took it down to every 2 Fridays, and now we're doing it monthly. So it's still going on, even though things opened up a little bit, and I'm doing in-person events again. I've been doing in-person events since April. The minute they were like, okay, city's open, I was like, all right, open mic, let's go. I was on it again. So like, I didn't wait. Other people were waiting to kind of see things out. They were scared. They were nervous. People get uncomfortable when it comes to change. But like, if you have to be able to adapt, you have to be able to pivot whenever you are needed to. Because that's part of being solution minded, you know? So I jumped right into it, girl. I was like, all right, we're doing this virtual thing. We're still doing it because we've been able to create such a great following and such a great virtual space for people to express themselves that I feel like I still have an obligation to those people. I don't want to be like, the world is open. Peace out, guys. See you later. You know, I still want to, you know, provide them with their spaces. And we have people all over the world like that tune in for Australia, Germany, UK, like they be everywhere. So that was like my response to the pandemic. I didn't wait. I knew that, you know, like I knew that my community needed me. And I had to make sure that I give them the space that they're used to having and the space that I know they need by any means necessary. You know, and I did it. I did, and I'm still doing it. And it ended up, because of the pandemic and not being able to go into studios in New York to film, and because I met and connected with so many poets outside of New York, that's how the show ended up turning into a traveling show. Because that wasn't the concept for the show before. Originally, the concept for the show was going to be, I was going to just interview poets in New York and highlight all these New York poets, all these New York creatives. And eventually goals was to travel, you know, at some point. Right. And when we couldn't get back into studios in New York and I started meeting all these people, I was talking to my production team. I was like, damn, I know these really cool people outside of New York. I really wish I could like interview them. And they were like, let's do it. We could make it happen. And sure enough, August of last year, we drove down to Atlanta. We filmed
Mm-hmm.
the second season in Atlanta. We filmed the third season in Philly.
Mm-hmm.
And then we just got back in June from filming in Tampa.
Okay.
So we've been doing a thing, and it's all because of the pandemic. So it was like, that was the beauty out of the chaos, you know, like,
Mm-hmm.
you know, there was opportunities to cry tears of mourning, but then there was so many other opportunities to cry tears of joy because of the opportunities that were coming my way.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. I love it. And I'm excited and congratulations. Like I have all the words and feelings right now about that. That it's just it makes me so happy. Like even when you were saying your virtual poetry slams from Australia and Germany, like if the pandemic didn't happen,
I
that
would
would
never.
you would have not connected with people in other countries. And
Right,
like you said, you
right.
wouldn't have traveled with your show. Like
Yeah.
that is the
I made
beauty.
friends with in the UK, and I went to the UK in March to go visit my friends.
Yes. Like, yes. So it's
Yes.
that, like, the beauty that did come out of the chaos and the destruction and the sadness, you know, the other side of that pillow or that coin
Right.
is the beauty that came out of
It is. It
all of
is.
it.
It's something that I'm proud of. I don't often get to take enough time to be proud of myself
Mhm.
because I'm so caught up in just constantly creating spaces for others.
Mhm.
But sometimes, you know, when I have conversations like this and I share my story,
Mhm.
for me, it's a moment of like, oh wow, I really should be proud of myself.
Yes, you should. You should pat yourself on the back. Yeah,
Yeah.
yes. You did
Good
that.
job,
Be
babe.
proud of
Good
you.
job.
Good job, JRose. Good job. Yes. Yes,
Yes.
be proud of yourself. Stand in it. Yes, I love
Right.
it. I
Right.
love it. Yes.
Yeah.
So my next question to you would be, this is not easy. What you have done is not easy by any feat, but you knew that you were called to do it. You were pushed to do it. You're like, I got to solve a problem. I got to be there. So now what advice or nugget of wisdom would you give to other artists and creatives who, some of us, we got to peel the Band-Aid off. We can't rip it
Right.
off like you. But what advice would you be like, y'all, you can rip off the Band-Aid? Like,
Right. Right. I guess I could say, like, don't be afraid to take risks when it comes to your artistry
hmm
or when it comes to wanting to pursue your dreams.
hmm
Um, it's never easy,
hmm
and anything that leads to success is never easy,
right.
you know, because if it was easy, then everybody would be successful, right?
Yeah.
So you have to understand that, like, in order to get to a certain goal, you're going to have to be dedicated. You're
hmm
going to have to be resilient. You're going to have to roll with the punches. You're going to have
hmm
to pivot, you
hmm
know, and you're going to have to be really patient with yourself and
Ooh,
with progress. And I
yeah.
think that that's the problem that a lot of people have, because we live in this like short attention span world where everything needs to be immediate. There needs to be this instant gratification. And we all, like, you know, we thrive on that
hmm
because our attention spans are so short. So when things don't happen fast enough for us, we get really
Yeah.
frustrated, and we feel like we want to give up and we want to walk away. Maybe we feel like it's not meant for us. But
Yeah.
what is meant for you will come your way, but you have to trust the process. And
Mm.
you have to be willing to accept that path. You have to be willing to accept all those tribulations, because they will lead you to that triumph.
Yeah.
Um, I'm getting goosebumps. I'm sorry. um, like, if someone told me that I'd be doing what I'm doing now, if you would
hmm
have told me this 5 years ago, 10 years ago, I would
hmm
have never believed you.
mm.
Never. I'd have
Yeah.
been like, what? Me hosting a talk show? You crazy? Like,
hmm
me on stage doing poetry and host? Get out of here. No way. I would never do that.
Right.
So you never know, like, where life is going to take you.
hmm
But if you are walking in the path of your purpose and you make a conscious decision to pursue that purpose,
hmm
then the universe will provide you all the opportunities that you need. And people sometimes are scared because they think that, you know, there's not enough fans, you know, there's not enough money, there's not
Right.
enough for me, because everybody has. You have to understand that the universe lacks nothing. The universe is abundant. So what
Yes.
is yours no matter what. So as long as you're walking in that path of purpose and the
Mm-hmm.
decisions that you make, the connections that you make, everything that you do has to serve your purpose. Because if it doesn't serve your purpose, it will not work out. It's not meant, and it's okay. And even when things don't work out, it's because it's not meant to work out, because it's just pivoting you in the direction that you're really supposed to be going.
Yes.
So those are, like, I guess, my bag of jewels that I can share with people. I think practicing patience is something that, like, we need to do a little bit more of, because, even now I still have to tell myself to be patient.
Mm-hmm.
There's things that I want to accomplish outside of my creativity, like more on a personal level, like romantically, and I got to be patient. I'm over here like, I need to find me a good man, girl. Where he at? But, he ain't ready for me. Either he ain't ready for me or I ain't ready for him. So I just got to be patient.
Yes. Say that again for the people in the back. The patience, sis. The patience.
You got to be patient. You got to be patient. Timing is everything, and things come to you when it's the right time. A lot of times we wish we get certain opportunities, but, we get disappointed that they don't come our way. But you got to think about it. You're probably not ready for that opportunity yet. You probably still got some inner work to do, or you probably got things to maybe that opportunity is too big and you got to be prepared for something that's scaled up. You don't want to end up biting more than you can chew. So the universe knows this. So the universe will be like, nah, chill. You got to wait. You still got to build that strength up a little bit more to carry this weight,
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah. And I think we're all discovering that as well. And it's
2020 definitely pushed us into a space where we had to be patient.
Yes.
We were home doing nothing for months. Scared to go to the grocery store, like scared to do anything, scared to see families, can't even visit friends. Like we were put through a lot. And although introverts were thriving, like the extroverts, we were suffering.
Girl.
I was like, I want to people. I'm just peopling. Like,
I miss my people. I want to decide when to go home. I want to decide when I'm like, okay, I've had enough of people.
Right.
But I want the option to decide, okay, I got to go home.
Yes. You want it to be your choice, not because you have to.
Exactly. Yes. Oh my goodness. JRose, thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you. I'm glad that you invited me. I love conversations like this.
Yes, I do too. And thank you for the invitation. Or for accepting my invitation.
Right.
But before I let you go, there is one thing that I must say to you.
Okay.
And that is that I acknowledge you, I celebrate you, and I uplift you.
Oh, thank you.
You're
I appreciate
welcome.
that a lot.
You're so very welcome.
Don't make me cry. I'm emotional this week. I don't know what the hell's wrong with me. I'm like, all these feelings.
Listen, feel all the feelings.
Yes.
JRose, thank you so much for sharing. Please feel free to visit this episode's show notes for links to get in touch with my guest, as well as a link to rate and review my podcast on Podchaser. If you are listening on Apple Podcasts, all you have to do is scroll down to the rate and review section. Make sure you hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, and share this episode with at least one friend. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll speak to you soon.